Welcome to Uncle Bob's Magic Cabinet, a mother-daughter podcast on all things magic and pop culture. Three, two, one. And we're on.
What's going on?
Oh, nothing.
Oh, nothing.
Hi, everyone. I'm Leigh. I'm the daughter.
I'm Lori. I'm the mom. Hey, what if we did Freaky Friday and swapped?
What do you mean?
I'd be the daughter and you'd be the mom.
Oh, my God. Wait. Hold on.
Ooh, magic.
Now, you could act like me, and I could act like you.
We already do that.
No, but, like, I could do my impression of you.
Oh.
I'm a Virgo. Everything needs to be in place.
I'm an Aquarius. It's like a tornado when I walk through the room.
Oh. And I've been attacked. Hello, police. I've been attacked.
I feel threatened. You've personally attacked me. Remember, I used to call you Slobberella.
You did, yeah. You know what?
But now you're not like that.
No, I'm not. Now I get really anxious if stuff is not, now that it's my own house, or like that I take up more residence.
Yeah. Before you're like, yeah, mom will just do it.
Well, I bounced around a lot because you and my dad were divorced, so I would be with him and then I'd be with you, and so I never set down my roots. So I always just
yeah. It's the mantra. We talked about that this morning.
We
Restless
did,
to be rooted.
Right. Yeah, so our sound guy, my husband Jake, told you that you can't clear your throat in the microphone anymore.
I can't clear my throat, and you breathe through your mouth and I breathe through my nose. Before we got started, I was like humming.
What's that?
I was humming through my nose. We will rock you. What? We are the champions.
How do you give me some of that? No, I want to hear it.
I'm not doing
All
it.
of those ASMR freaks are going to go crazy.
No.
No.
I'm trying to do exercises so I do not breathe through my nose. I have bad
I guess I'm a
sinuses.
mouth breather.
Well,
you learn something new
and
every
I'm
day.
very nasally.
Are you?
Well, according to Jacob, I
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, you just want to hop on in or what?
Do you want to hop on in?
Yeah, I've got a lot of crazy hand motions going today.
Yeah, but people listening can't see that.
Yeah, I just need you to imagine. I'm Italian, so imagine some of that and then just a little bit of this.
A little bit of that. A little.
I like to keep it spicy, you know?
I like to talk with your hands.
I do.
Cool.
I
relate.
All right.
Understand everything you're saying.
You do. I could just do this and you would know what I was talking about.
I know.
That's love right there.
Yeah.
Okay, that's true understanding.
Freaky.
Okay. I'm going first, as per usual.
Well, I think people expect it now.
I know. But when we do the Freaky Friday episode,
we're going to shake it up.
You're going to go first, and you're going to pretend to be me. That's, you know what? I'm looking forward to that. You taking a little sip?
I am. We're still in search of a cup that does not
make a noise.
Jingle my ice cubes. Well, if I don't want to clear my throat in the microphone, then I need to sip.
Wet your whistle.
Wet my whistle. Okay, go ahead. I'm ready. What are we talking about today?
Okay. I can't take you seriously when you're doing that. Obviously, we're slap happy again. Okay, I am talking about backmasking. Do you know what that is?
I do not know what that is.
Okay, I'm going to start with the definition then for you. Backmasking is a recording technique where sounds or messages are recorded backwards onto a track that is meant to be played forward. So you have to play the record backwards in order to receive the message.
Interesting.
You're going to know what I'm talking about when we get into it.
I know what you're talking about because I used to try to do that on my Beatle albums. And,
yes.
You know, because apparently John was saying cranberry sauce, but I never could get it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I never heard it. I can't remember what song it was. Jake's
going to fact check that.
He's going to fact check
well,
it.
If we harken back to your Led Zeppelin episode, they supposedly backmasked.
Supposedly, but Jimmy Page said...
no, they all say no.
They say no. He's like, who in the world's going to take the time to do that?
We'll get into that.
Strawberry Fields. He says cranberry sauce.
Wow, I'm going to have to go and listen to that.
I could never get it.
Okay, so that is backmasking. Okay. All right, so I want to start with a brief rock and roll being perceived as the devil's music little history here because it's important. Okay, so rock and roll, I'm not going to go into the complete history, but also a lot of my information for this episode is coming from the book Season of the Witch, How the Occult Saved Rock and Roll by Peter Bebergal. Okay. Would highly recommend if you're into rock and roll.
It's a good read.
I haven't gotten through the whole thing yet, but super interesting. Okay, so I've pulled a lot of quotes from this book.
Okay.
Let me clear my throat. Let me clear my throat. Okay. Anywho. Okay, so rock and roll is the devil's music. I'm not going to go into the entire history of rock and roll because we would be here forever. But rock and roll, electric instruments, turn traditional values on their head. Okay, so in a time when, you were supposed to be conservative and girls were over here and guys were over here and you were not supposed to be sexual and you were not supposed to be devious and you were not supposed to do drugs, and rock and roll was like, how about we do?
How about we do it?
Okay, so it's all about rebellion, right? They talked about intoxication, gender fluidity, sex, aggression. Religious leaders saw rock and roll as the worst form of hedonism.
Yeah.
They thought if you liked rock and roll, you were just opening yourself up to the devil.
Yeah.
Okay. So, sex for religious leaders at this time meant initiation for demonic influence.
You mean without procreation?
Premarital.
Oh, premarital.
Sex, yes.
Oh, okay. Thanks for clarifying
You're
that.
welcome.
Okay.
Yes, you were only supposed to have sex after you were married. So rock and roll that often had risky lyrics or, Elvis's gyrating hips.
My guy. They wouldn't let him show his hips.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, they zoomed in.
Yeah. Waist up.
Because he was corrupting the youth. Okay, so that's going to be an important theme here.
The very first rebel. No, not the very first, but yeah.
Right. Okay, so enter the 1960s, right?
Enter 60s counterculture.
Yes. So liberation, period, but also sexual liberation, right? It was a time of like hippies were opening up to a new way of thinking. We're trying to tap into a different wavelength. We're going to not take everything that we're being told as the truth, and we're going to go on our own path and try to find out for ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay.
Love it.
Love it. I know you.
I'm still living that way.
Yeah, me too.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, you were very much a 60s child.
Oh my gosh. I embrace it. I'm proud of it.
As you should. Okay, so in 1966, the Beatles released Tomorrow Never Knows, which is the final track on their album Revolver.
Okay.
And this marks, let me find it. Oh my gosh. This marks the first use of reversed sounds in a pop recording. So I think they used backwards guitar sounds.
Okay.
So like they played a guitar, they reversed it, and that's what they used as the sound. You know that song, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Go listen to that song. I can't hum it because apparently we're going to get copywritten. So
yeah, don't
imagine me humming it.
Don't hum it.
Right. Okay. So John Lennon wrote this after an experience with LSD, but also it was about like opening your mind, period. Like, so meditation or just getting on a different wavelength, transcending.
The electric Kool-Aid experiment.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So that is Tomorrow Never Knows. Now they also released on Revolver the song Rain, which marks the first backmasked message.
Really?
And I don't have in my notes here what exactly the message was. Maybe Jack can fact check, but I think it was one of the Paul is dead things, which you're going to do a whole different episode on that.
I'm going to do an episode on that, yeah.
So I won't go too much into that. But so that marks the first. So as per usual, the Beatles are in here like being trailblazers.
Trailblazers, yeah.
Okay, so we have the established how rock and roll was viewed. Mm-hmm. And then the Beatles are coming in. So then I want to talk about backmasking in a satanic manner.
Okay.
Because here's where they start kind of colliding. Mm-hmm. Did you find it?
When the sun shines.
When the sun shines.
If the rain comes.
If the rain comes.
They run and hide their heads.
They run and hide their heads. Is the backmask message? Cool.
Okay. On what track?
Rain.
On Rain. Okay.
Rain, which is on Revolver. Nothing really bad about that message.
Yeah, like I said, Cranberry Sauce, their messages were just fun, jokey.
Right. And these were intentional backmasks, because we'll get into that a little bit. Okay, so backmasking in a satanic manner. So in Aleister Crowley's 1913 book, Magic Book 4, which we're going to have to do a whole episode on him.
Absolutely.
Because he seems to be popping up
a lot.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So he wrote a book in 1913, which recommended people who were interested in the darker side of magic to learn how to think and speak backwards, and recommended listening to phonographic records backwards in order to train your brain to think in reverse.
For what purpose?
If you were into black magic, you should just teach your brain how to think in the opposite direction of what you were told.
Okay. But like for what end result?
I don't think that you should dive too deep into this, because it's to train your brain to think in a different manner.
Okay. Against what society tells you to think.
I mean, as far as I can tell, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't think I would look for too much substance there.
Gotcha.
Okay. So this is where people started connecting, well, if you're backmasking, you must be Satan. Like, you must be, the devil was coming through.
It's the devil's music.
So the 1970s, we have talked about this before, where the Manson murders, which took place in 1979, kind of marked this satanic panic that then
79?
started. 69.
69.
Did
You
I
said
say
79.
Oh, thank you. No, 1969. So in the 70s, then, there was this satanic panic where anything that was, because, the Manson clan were viewed as hippies. They had long hair. They kind of did their own thing. So then society viewed hippies or anyone that thought a little differently as, oh no, you must be members of the Manson clan or whatever. And it was viewed very badly, and people were scared of anything that involved the occult.
Right.
But also in the 70s, you saw this like surgence of tarot readings and anything involving the occult.
Right.
So at the same time, interest in it was growing, but also the fear of it was growing on the other side. Okay.
The divisiveness.
So like New Age, think of 1970s as like the rise of the New Agey stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Probably because of the Beatles. Like, right?
Well, I mean, yeah.
Isn't that when they had their like long haired phase and stuff?
I mean, well, yeah, that's correct.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember just growing up in the 70s, everything was like just those, wild colors, and it was all astrology, and, astrology was on everything, a mug, a pen, so all of that stuff.
Exactly. So there was like this huge rise in the interest, but then over here, the religious leaders and the more conservative side were like, oh my God.
What is happening?
Because, and I would say, I mean, I wasn't alive, but I would say because of what happened with the Manson murders, that really sparked this, like, absolutely not.
That was the end of the hippie movement.
Right.
For sure.
Right. But you had the biggest names in rock and roll who were, like, all about this kind of stuff. Right?
Yeah.
And not really, I mean, maybe some of them, but not in, like, but they were hippies.
Yeah.
Okay? For lack of a better word, if you don't like that word.
I love that word.
Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with that word, but
I love it.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people will say that to me sometimes, and they think it's an insult, and I'm like,
I don't think it's an insult at all. I dig it.
I completely dig it.
Yeah, free your mind, man. Okay, so in the book, I took a direct quote. He says it was a time of, the motto was take what you need and leave the rest. So it was kind of like, it was literally about carving your own path and thinking
For yourself.
for yourself. Okay, so you had the biggest names in rock and roll that were embracing all things occult and spiritual rebellion. Okay, so Led Zeppelin, the Beatles, Black Sabbath, the Rolling Stones, just to name a few.
That's just the tip of the iceberg.
And our pal, what was his name? Peter Bebergal says that in doing so, in embracing the occult, they crafted rock's mythical soul. And without it, rock and roll as we know it would not exist.
Oh, I love that.
Love it. This
I love
book,
that.
A
Top
plus.
notch.
Okay. So they were all preaching to reach beyond convention, to find something bigger and different, to get in touch with their own level of reality. And then you had, obviously with that comes some drug use. Okay.
Obviously.
Some psychedelics.
Because that's how you free your mind, right?
Right.
I mean, yeah. Not my thing, but
You're like, "Not my-"
yeah.
Jake's giving me a thumbs up over there. Right. Which, side note, we did just watch this Netflix special called Have a Good Trip.
I saw you posted that on one of our stories, and I want to watch that.
Celebrities' experiences with psychedelics, and it goes into a little bit. It's really fascinating.
Was Wavy Gravy on there?
He wasn't, but
bummer.
Donovan was. Like a lot of cool rock and roll icons were on there. Yeah. Okay. So
I'm gonna watch that.
Go watch that if you're intrigued at all by
I'm
that.
totally gonna check that out.
Okay. So the occult at this time came to mean challenging the status quo, looking for answers that traditional religious, values weren't giving you.
Right.
Okay. Like if you're like, I don't think so. I want to go off on my own thing here. Taking control of your own destiny and saying, I have a role in this. It is not just
predestined.
It is not just God. I might, I have a role in carving my own life. Okay, again, so couple that with the satanic panic. Kind of came to a little bit of a
friction.
And in my notes, I specifically have later 70s, early 80s, hit fan.
Oh,
is what my notes say.
Note.
It hit the fan. Okay, so there was a movement to put warnings on labels of rock albums.
I remember that, yeah.
Okay, because they were saying that there were these satanic messages hidden in all of these rock songs.
I recall.
However, for the most part, the bands were coming out and saying, no, we didn't do that.
Like I would imagine, I don't know what the process is, but that it would be very time consuming to try to do that. I mean,
Jake could probably answer that better, but it seems like it's not.
Like, why would I want to do that?
Right. So the Beatles did it to experiment with different sounds and to maybe have a little fun and just, try to come up with something new. But as far as like going in there, I mean, there were intentional ones, but if you look at the ones that were intentional, they're goofy. Like they're just kind of poking fun at it.
Right.
Which I'll get to some of the Backmasking songs. Let me find Okay. So messages were said to be just as potent when listening to them regularly. So the churches and the televangelists, like, oh my gosh, you have to go on YouTube. There are hilarious televangelist things where they're playing the Led Zeppelin albums backward and they're like, do you hear these satanic messages? And like they were playing them at churches, saying like your kids cannot listen to rock and roll.
Right.
It was basically, they were saying that it was the devil's way, even if the band didn't know it, of coming through their music because it was, naughty. It was their way, the devil's way to corrupt the youth without parents knowing, like right under the parents' noses.
Okay.
Okay.
I do recall that.
Yeah. So there were like, it really hit the fan. Record smashing parties became a thing. Okay. Books were written about it, which I have to get. Just because they have to be hilarious. Okay, one is called Dancing with Demons.
Whoa.
And the other is called The Devil's Disciples, The Truth About Rock. And
oh my gosh, we're going to have a huge library.
You have to Google this. The artwork or like the ads that came out of this, the propaganda was like literally like devil licking a guitar string. And like, it's actually kind of awesome, but it was meant to like deter kids from.
You're like, can I get that frame to hang in my house?
I'm going to get that tattooed on me. But yeah, it was meant to like keep parents from letting their kids listening to rock and roll. There was even an organization that was formed called PASS, P-A-S-S, Parents Against Subliminal Seduction. Okay.
Wow.
They took it far. I mean, there were court cases.
This was serious business.
Yes. So and the reason why I started looking into this is because I think in your Led Zeppelin episode, I talked about the Judas Priest thing.
Did you?
Yes. So this all came to a head in 1990. The government attempts to legislate against backmasking after Judas Priest was taken to court because there were claims saying they were responsible for the suicide of a teenage fan because in their song Better by You, Better Than Me, there's a backwards message of do it.
Like Nike do it?
Like do it. Just do it. Like that Shia LaBeouf meme. Do it. But they were saying that the reason that this fan, and you might want to fact check me, Jake, because on one hand I read that it was one fan, and on the other hand I read that 2 people had committed suicide, and that's why this was like. But the parents, I would assume the parents came out and said, okay, so it was 2. Two people had committed suicide. And I don't know why people thought it was because of this song. Like, I don't know if it was the parents. I don't know.
Was Judas Priest on the jukebox, on the record player? You know what I mean?
Right,
like how would that?
I don't know if there was a note. Yeah. I don't know what, but they were like they won. Like, it was like, no.
They won?
No, like Judas Priest won.
Oh, I was going to say, really? The parents won?
Judas Priest, it was thrown out.
Oh.
It was not.
goodness.
Because if I do believe that it was proved that subliminal messaging was not, like, it didn't have any effect. Like, even if there was that message, it would not have any effect on you. You would not be able to hear it if you were listening to the record regularly. Okay?
Unless you're watching the movie They Live.
Unless you're watching They Live. Okay, so I have what is really going on here. Okay? So there's this thing called, I'm going to butcher it, you're going to laugh at me. Pareidolia. Oh my God, I'm going to spell it. Pareidolia.
Okay, I've never heard of that word.
It's a psychological term. It is your brain's attempt to make sense of gibberish. Okay, so here's the thing. So televangelists and churches and all of these people would take these records and they would play them and say, here's the devilish message. Okay. But they would tell you
what the message
was before they would play it backwards. So then your brain will find it.
Correct.
Like, it will literally sift it out because it wants to make sense.
Right.
Because when you play a record backwards, it's like.
I'm telling you, I've tried to do this,
right.
And I have never heard what they're telling you that you've.
So they literally did studies where they put 2 groups of people and they told one group the message and they all heard it, and then they didn't tell the other group, and they're like, no, I don't hear anything.
I hear nothing.
So it was.
Yeah.
It was,
yes,
fabricated to fit their story, I will say. Okay. There are cases of intentional backmasking where people did actually, like, I think, let me find it. Who the heck was it? I know that Weird Al had an intentional one. Nature Trail to Hell in 1984, obviously, like after this, kind of in the midst to make fun of it, it says Satan eats cheese whiz. That was intentional. So
Weird Al.
You can intentionally do it, but like Led Zeppelin came out, and in my opinion, Led Zeppelin would, if they did it, they'd be like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
They're like, no, we didn't do that.
Exactly. Who's taking the time for that?
Led Zeppelin's is, and I think there's a few, but the main one in Led Zeppelin was Stairway to Heaven. And they claim it says, here's to my sweet Satan. And like this whole thing about how you should follow Satan.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here are some songs that are supposedly backmasked.
I can't wait.
But I got to tell you, another reason why I brought this up is because when I was little, I mean, this was a thing.
Yeah,
like
I remember.
And because the internet was like just starting to run, so we didn't actually play the record backward, but you could go online and Google it and find little clips. And we used to sit there and it would creep me out. And when I was researching this, it kind of freaked me out.
Did it?
It's kind of creepy.
Yeah. Yeah. The thought of it.
It's kind of like carousel music almost. like it's just a creepy sound when you're playing a record backwards that even if it's not saying anything, I'm like, it's kind of creepy.
Yeah.
Do you know what I
right.
mean?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have Hotel California by the Eagles in 1976. Supposedly there's the message of, yes, Satan organized his own religion. Okay.
Well,
And
we already know
they
that.
have, so I originally, my episode this week was supposed to be all about Hotel California.
Okay.
There was not enough.
California.
I think I could do like a mini blurb about it on YouTube or something, but there was not enough because they have come out and said like, no, we didn't do that. It's not about anything satanic. Now, they could be lying. But they have actually tried to like totally get rid of that. So there wasn't even enough for me to do a whole episode on that.
To do an episode.
Right. In Another One Bites the Dust by Queen in 1980, he says, it's fun to smoke marijuana.
Oh, Freddie Mercury.
That one you can actually hear.
Can you?
Yeah. Now, again, could be because I'm being told to hear that. Mm-hmm. Like, who knows if that's what's actually... if they actually did it or not.
Yeah.
Okay. Gonna Raise Hell by, are you ready for this?
Oh, I hope it's not Barry Manilow.
Cheap Trick.
Cheap Trick.
I was like, what?
Cheap Trick.
In 1979, you know Satan holds the key to the lock.
Cheap Trick says that?
Yes. She's like,
well,
I don't think so.
The whole thing has just been debunked.
It has been debunked.
Fabricated.
No, are you ready for this?
Oh, no.
El Dorado by ELO in 1974. There are multiple ELO songs that supposedly have been backmasked.
You know, can we talk about this for 2 seconds?
Go to town.
My love of ELO.
She loves ELO.
And you do not love ELO.
I like ELO. I wouldn't, it wouldn't be my last record, I wouldn't take it to my desert island, you know.
If I don't know how you cannot listen to ELO and just not feel jubilation.
Well, they're hiding satanic messages in their songs, Mom.
Maybe that's why.
They're corrupting you. Their message in, what did I say, El Dorado is, everyone who has the mark will live. 666. Okay.
All right.
Which is hilarious because it's ELO. Like, okay, so there are a ton in the Beatles song, and I'm going to let you handle that when you do your episode.
I'm going to do The Walrus is Paul.
But there was this whole conspiracy that Paul McCartney was actually dead, and there are a ton of backmasked messages that...
clues in the albums. I remember that growing up as a kid.
That one creeps me. Like, even thinking about that whole conspiracy for some reason gives me the heebie-jeebies. So it's the White Album entirely is like just... But they're everywhere.
The other clues are on Abbey Road. They're in
but
Sgt.
as far as backmasking, the White Album is like the holy grail for backmasking.
Oh, really?
Apparently.
Not Magical Mystery Tour?
Nope. It's the White Album because that's where you hear Turn Me On, Dead Man. Mm-hmm. And that's where you hear Paul is a dead man, miss him, miss him, miss him.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay, so I am so excited for when you do that.
Dude, I know. I see. I lived that. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited to do that episode.
Yeah, so, and those are the ones I have written down, but there are a ton. I mean, there are a ton. So basically what I think was that it was the religious leaders' way of trying to take down rock and roll because they were going against their values and they...
You got to keep people living in fear and towing the line. And
so do I think that Satan was actually putting messages in these rock albums? No, I do not.
No.
It'd be pretty tight if he did. Sweet.
Oh, man.
So that is backmasking.
Wow.
Kind of cool.
That's interesting. I mean, I knew I am familiar with most of what you were talking about.
Right.
But did not know it had a name, actually.
I did not know that it had such a tie to what was going on in the world. I didn't know that there were like organizations set out against it. I just knew that like it was a thing and that you could find hidden messages, but I had no idea that it was like so tied culturally to what was going on. I think that that's very interesting.
Absolutely. And we talked about the 60s, and I said I was going to try to do an episode, and you said it would be a stretch because how magic plays into the hippie movement and the effect it had on the world. And, so that's another one I'm tinkering with. Do it, girl. Do it. Well, that was very interesting.
Thank you.
Thanks for researching that.
You're welcome. Now I really hope that everyone goes out and tries to listen to all these messages.
Cranberry sauce.
Let it corrupt you.
Awesome.
All right. What's yours?
Well, mine is not that as in depth as yours. Mine is actually, I went for the fun one.
Okay.
I went a little light.
Because I went a little.
You went a little heavy.
I went a little deep. Okay.
So I went a little light.
Okay, I'm ready.
So my topic this week is one of, I'm not a big Disney fan.
No.
We joke about that a lot. People make
doesn't
fun
like
of me.
it.
I've never been to Disneyland or World or anything
I think
like
you would
that.
actually like it. It's the happiest place on earth.
Yeah,
Mom.
I'm just not into that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but growing up as a kid, there were a few Disney movies that I absolutely loved, and it's funny that you don't realize as a kid what you're like, where you're predestined to go, or where not predestined, but
I know what you mean.
the path that you're following or the journey you're taking. Because one of my favorite Disney movies is Bedknobs and Broomsticks, and
You've always loved that.
I love that movie.
We used to watch it all the time when I was little. I haven't seen it in a long time.
Yeah, so that one, and of course Mary Poppins. And the reason I say it, and that will be a whole nother episode, is that they're very much linked together.
Okay.
Yeah, could you see it?
Yes, but again, I have not seen Bedknobs and Broomsticks in such a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, because I guess Mary Poppins is kind of a witch, right?
She is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. And so this is a Walt Disney picture, released in 1971. Okay. And the heading on the marquee is "You'll be witched." And you'll be dazzled.
Bedazzled.
Not bedazzled. You'll just
Be dazzled.
You will be dazzled.
Bedazzled. Do you remember when bedazzling was a thing? Speaking of.
I do, unfortunately.
Was that a 90s thing?
I think people were still bedazzling.
Oh God, why?
Yeah.
Actually, you know what?
Yeah, your friend has bedazzled shoes.
We've been quarantined for. Oh my God, he does. I've been quarantined in this house so long. I would buy a bedazzler.
You probably would.
I would.
My gosh, jean jackets. Here we go.
Oh my God, I love jean jackets.
Right? So the movie is based on 2 books.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And you're probably going to want to add these to your library. And
Add them.
Yeah. We're going to have a list of that. So the first book is called The Magic Bedknob, or How to Become a Witch in 10 Easy Lessons, from 1943.
Love it.
And the second is called Bonfires and Broomsticks, 1947.
Bonfires and Broomsticks.
Yeah, and they're both by Mary Norton. So
Okay.
she wrote both of the books.
Fun.
Yeah. So the screenplay is by Don DeGrotty, who did Mary Poppins, and the music is composed by the Sherman Brothers, who also did Mary Poppins.
Interesting.
Yeah. So actually, the Beautiful Briny Sea is some of the very good tunes that you can hear on Bedknobs and Broomsticks, Substitutionary Locomotion, which we'll talk about, and Portobello Road. Beautiful Briny Sea was actually meant for Mary Poppins and was cut and then used in Bedknobs and Broomsticks.
Okay.
An interesting note, a sidebar, the Sherman Brothers, this was the last feature film that they worked on until they were called back in 2000 to work on the Tigger movie. So it was their last.
I don't think that one did too well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we're going to talk about that a little bit.
What, the Tigger movie?
No, just why this film came about when it did.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Yeah. So the film stars Angela Lansbury as Eglantine Price. And you may know her better from Murder, She Wrote. I think that was, her long-running series from 84 to 96. 12 years. That's long.
Wowza. Okay.
Right? And then you also might recall her from a little movie we watched a couple weeks ago called Blue Hawaii. David Tomlinson, who plays Professor Emilius Brown, and he is also Mr. Banks in Mary Poppins.
Okay.
Yeah. And then there's a very small part, which lended some star power, but his parts, most of them were cut out. But at the time the movie was released, he was already a star. And so he had some, power, was Roddy McDowall.
Do I know who that is?
You probably would. He is definitely famous for Planet of the Apes. that series.
Okay.
But you would know him from a movie called Evil Under the Sun
Oh.
and also Fright Night.
Fright Night. Who is he in Fright Night? Oh.
Yeah. He's, what's his name?
Yeah. The TV guy.
The TV guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And he plays Mr. Jelk. But there was another person that was up for the role, was considered for this role.
Who?
Mr. Elvis Presley.
Oh, God.
Can you imagine?
No.
Can you imagine him in a Disney movie?
No.
Hilarious, right? But he was being considered for this role as Mr. Jelk.
Well, I think they
And if
probably
you-
made the right decision.
And if you watch the movie, you'd be like, no way he's playing that. He could not have pulled that off. All right, so the film went into development in the early 1960s. Okay, so now remember I said that it came out in 71.
Yeah, what happened?
So it went into development in early 1960s when the film rights to Mary Poppins, when P.L. Travers was giving Walt Disney a hard time about signing over the film rights to Mary Poppins. And so he decided, fine, I'm going to make this other movie called Bedknobs and Broomsticks. So in the meantime, in the interim, he got the rights to Mary Poppins and he shelved Bedknobs and Broomsticks because they were so similar.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And a lot of times people will say, oh, is Bedknobs and Broomsticks the sequel
Like, is it the
to
same?
Mary Poppins?
Right.
Like they thought it was like a continuation. Yeah. So now Walt Disney dies in 1966. Okay. And
Or did he? Is he frozen? Okay.
he's frozen, only to be brought back later in time.
Don't do it, dude.
Yeah. Eh. So Walt's brother Roy, I think, was in charge. And Disney was having a rough go of it after Walt's death. They only had 2 hits on the books, Jungle Book and The Love Bug. And so they were
Love
looking...
Bug? Is that the one about the car?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're like, really? That was a hit?
So that was the hit?
So they were looking for some old-fashioned Disney to bring some zing back. And it was actually, they pulled it off. It was a hit. But the studio didn't view it as such because in comparison to Mary Poppins, it wasn't as big. But giving their floundering,
Given the flops.
the flops that they were having, it was a smash.
Okay.
Okay, and literally 1 week after the release, Roy passes away. Roy Disney.
Jeez.
Yeah. Whew.
Having a rough go of it over at Disney.
Right on. Okay, so the movie takes place in 1940. Okay, that's the setting.
Okay.
During the Blitz.
What's the Blitz?
Exactly. I had to look that up because I was like, what the heck is the Blitz? So the Blitz is a German bombing campaign against the United Kingdom during the Second World War. And the term was coined by the British press, and it is the German word for lightning.
Okay.
Okay, so that's what the Blitz is, right? Okay, so it starts in a museum in a town outside of London called Peppering Eye, and where the children have been evacuated from London because of the bombings.
Okay.
Okay, and that's a real thing that happened. Yeah, and I didn't go deep into it, but apparently Angela Lansbury actually was alive during that time and experienced these things.
Oh.
So, they're asking people in the town to take these orphans in. So the 3 kids in the movie are Charlie, Carrie, and Paul, and they are placed in the reluctant care of Angela Lansbury, and her name is Eglantine Price.
Eglantine.
Okay? Eglantine, what a name.
I know.
So they decide that they don't want to stay with her, and they're going to escape back to London. Okay, so in the midst of them making their getaway, they see her trying to fly on a broomstick. Hello.
She's a witch.
She's a witch. Yeah. So Miss Price reveals that she is indeed a witch, but an apprentice witch. She's in training.
Okay.
Because she is taking a correspondence course in London,
That sounds
that
fun.
sends lessons and, teaches her witchcraft.
Fun.
Yeah.
Can I get some of those?
I know, right? And then her hope is to help the British, in the war effort with her spells.
Right.
Yeah, that's her driving force.
Gotcha.
Right on. So she decides that she doesn't want the kids telling people that she's a witch because that probably wouldn't look too good, right?
No.
So she tells them that she will give them a spell, and she enchants this bed knob. And it's a traveling spell, and it will let them go to different places if they be quiet, if they keep her secret.
If you keep your mouth shut.
If you keep your trap shut.
Snitches get stitches.
Oh my gosh. So in the meantime, she receives a letter that says the correspondence school has been closed down because of the war.
Oh, bummer.
She's pretty bummed out about it
As I would be.
because she only has one more spell.
To become a witch?
Well, this final spell is what she needs to defeat the German troops.
Oh, right.
Right on. So she convinces the kids, specifically Paul, because that's who gave her the bed knob, and he's the only one that can work the spell, the juju. He got the magic touch, as we would say. So she convinces him to put the bed knob on the bed, and all of them go to London to find Professor Emilius Brown.
Okay.
So she can get this final spell.
Right.
Right?
I'm with you.
Okay, so they do that, and here we find out, spoiler, that Professor Emilius Brown is a con artist. Yeah, he's...
Dun, dun, dun.
And the plot thickens. Yeah, so he's a shyster, I guess, you know?
Yeah.
A con man. And he is very surprised when he meets her that the spells actually worked because he just pulled them out of this old book, and he was like, oh, I didn't know they were real. You know, I was trying to get your money. So she convinces him to come along, and he tells them that they need to go to what's the I'm losing it.
She's slipping, everyone. She's slipping.
I know. See, I got the old-fashioned notes where I'm turning pages.
Yeah, you need to update.
I know. No, I can't. I can't do it.
She's too old school.
So he tells them that they need to go to Portobello Road.
Oh, okay.
And that's where they're going to find the other half of this book, because he has the book, but he only has half.
Naturally.
And that's why he couldn't give her the last spell, because he didn't have the end of the book.
It's so Disney.
It's so Disney-esque. Mm-hmm. So they're going to go to Portobello Road, which I was like, okay, so what is that? That's a real place.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's in the Notting Hill district of West London.
Notting Hill? Like Notting Hill?
Like the movie Notting Hill with Mr. Hugh Grant.
Is that, what line came from that? I'm just a girl.
I'm just a girl standing in front of a boy. Fruitarian. I'm a fruitarian.
That's a good one.
I only eat the fruit that has fallen from the ground.
You know, there are people that do that.
I know, it's a real thing.
Not, hey, if you do that,
hey,
do your thing.
Right.
But
I thought he was making it up, but no, it's a real thing.
What if that created that?
The fruitarian movement.
Notting Hill is my Bible. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. But Alison Krauss does that Keith Whitley tune in that movie. I love that movie.
What, Notting Hill?
Yeah.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
I do too.
I love Hugh Grant's humor.
I know, me too.
Yeah, it's very dry. So anyway, back to Portobello Road. So anyway, it is a place where it's a market known for secondhand clothes and antiques. And they do this huge musical number that is...
entitled Portobello Road.
It's entitled Portobello Road, but it probably would not stand the politically correct.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like all of these different cultures in stereotypical garb and stuff like that. So it probably did not stand the test of time.
Gotcha.
So they locate, they're taken to the bookman who has the other half of the book. And he's been looking for...
Wait, hold on. When you say, like, half of the book, like, did they saw the book in half? I don't understand how you could just have half of a book.
Ripped the binding.
Why? Just because it's Disney? I'm thinking too much about it. Okay, continue.
You're diving too deep into that rabbit
I'm sorry.
hole.
I'm going to back up.
So he has the other half of the book, and he's been searching for Emilius Brown's half, and because he thinks it has the last spell. So they put the two halves together, and they realize that nobody has the last spell because it is in the Owl of Naboombu.
Say that again.
The Owl of Naboombu.
Is it a real place?
It's fictional, Leigh.
Well, how the heck am I going to know that? We all know I'm not good at geography.
Well,
Naboombu.
Yeah. So it's a fictional place where the animals have become human.
Oh, for God's sakes.
Because there's a spell on them, put on them by a wizard. And the King Leonidas, I think is, he's a lion, and he has this necklace around his neck, and it has the Star of Astaroth on it, and it has the final spell for substitutionary locomotion.
How the heck did he get it?
Yeah.
Bring it closer. Jake's trying to tell me something.
What?
Oh my God,
He's
is Mothman there?
What? Mothman's in the Owl of Naboombu?
Good one, babe.
He's hanging out.
Good one.
So they go over and there's, some antics, and they swim under the sea, and that's where beautiful briny sea comes, and they, win a dance contest, and then they go up to the land, and
there's some turns taken
there. There's a soccer game, and
as there would be.
Emilius Brown, the con artist that he is, manages to swipe the necklace
from Naboombu.
And get from the king, and get the Star of Astaroth. And they head back on the bed. But when they get home, oh my gosh.
Who was eating mushrooms when they wrote this movie is my one question.
Obviously the lady that wrote the 2 books in 1940.
Sounds like a wild ride.
So they bring the bed back home, and unfortunately, magical things cannot go from dimension to dimension, and it disintegrates and goes back to Naboombu. Right. But all this time, little Paul has a little storybook all about the Owl of Naboombu.
What?
And yeah, the whole time. And the spell is right there in the picture book. And so he's got the spell.
Who? What character?
Paul.
Wow.
Paul, he just wanted to go to Naboombu.
Way to drop
on the bed.
Mic, Paul.
Hey, she said a bad word.
Jake's going to flag it. Beep it out.
She swore. So they set about to do the spell, substitutionary locomotion. So talk about gibberish in music. And we have supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. In Mary Poppins, we have substitutionary locomotion by the Sherman Brothers. So the spell is made up.
Right.
But they put a lot of time into it. So it's Triguna Macoides Tricorum Sades D. Okay. But I looked it up. This is so weird because he's wearing a star.
Right.
Right. And the Sherman Brothers are saying Triguna means wood. Macoides means metal.
Is it the elements?
Tricorum is earth. Sades is water. And D is fire. And it's this 5-pointed star, which in Chinese elements.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Interesting, right?
Did their research fun.
Yes. So they do this little dance number. And what it means is things that do not have life. Substitutionary locomotion means it brings things to life that have none.
So like, I don't know, a table.
Inanimate objects. A table, a dress.
A lamp.
Yeah, those types of things.
I love lamp.
So they do this fancy Disney number, and they realize, the kids love the 2 of them, and the 2 of them are smitten with each other, and, but Emilius Brown, he's leading the single life of a con man, and he gets cold feet, and he's like, I gotta go back to London.
I gotta dip.
I gotta go back to London. Peace out. And he goes to the train station, and then the German troops invade.
Oh, no.
And they get Mrs. Price and the kids, and he sees them climbing up the telephone poles to cut the wires or whatever, and he's like, I better go back and save them. So the German army puts her and the kids in the museum. She does the spell, brings all of the armor and the knights and all of that stuff to life, and it defeats the German troops.
Wow.
And then, of course, in doing that, the Germans destroyed all of her spells, and she can no longer be a witch because she doesn't remember any of them.
Wow.
She doesn't have a photographic memory. And
No retention.
No retention. So she's just now no longer a witch. They, of course, get married and adopt the 3 kids. And it is a happy Disney ending.
As per usual.
Right.
As per usual.
Right. So what is interesting about this movie and why I love it is because most of Disney's depictions of witches
Are bad.
are as villains.
Yeah.
So she is considered a strong intellectual female protagonist because she's a self-proclaimed witch. Like she's proclaiming herself
She's like,
as a witch.
yeah.
She's like, I'm rocking with that.
Yeah. Until she loses her spells.
Until she forgets all of her darn spells.
But before that.
And so they're saying that she is a feminist icon in the making.
Wow.
Right?
Love that.
Because she was confident and driven. She was a single woman living on her own in the 1940s with a plan to single-handedly...
She don't need no man until the end.
I don't need no man to single-handedly defeat the Germans.
Tight.
So she was rocking it. And one of the other things that I found was in my research was the Star of Astaroth. There's an evil trinity god called Astaroth. And he's known as one part of the trinity of Astaroth, Beelzebub, and Lucifer.
Oh.
So it's only a 1-letter difference. So I'm wondering if the gal that wrote the book was aware
She had to
in the
have known.
1940s.
She had.
Or-
Okay, come on. How
Yeah.
would that just be a coincidence? Yeah, she was totally doing that. on
Interesting,
purpose.
right? Which then I wonder if Disney knew. Like,
Well, I don't know. There's some weird stuff that Disney,
Yeah.
but I doubt it.
Yeah. Interesting.
They probably just rocked with it, and the girl was back there like, "Got you good."
So one of the other interesting things is I always have to, tie it into a plant somehow. And
We all know you do.
When the kids, I thought it was hilarious when the kids get there, and she's like, "I'm not used to having kids around, and I don't know what you little tots eat." And they were, they're like bangers and mash, and she's like, "Oh well, we don't eat that. I don't eat that here." And like, "What do you eat?" And she said, which I don't know how she was surviving on this. Rose hips, elm bark, and stewed nettles.
That's it. That's it.
That's what she was eating. So elm bark is like a mucilaginous.
Yeah.
It's like a big, like when you put water into elm bark, it's like a booger. So imagine just eating
I don't want
some
to.
spoonfuls of that. Rose hips, good in vitamin C.
Wait, hold on. The remix of Spoonful of Sugar is Spoonful of Boogers.
Ew.
With you walked into that because
that's
you
nasty.
said mucilaginous.
I said mucilaginous.
You did. You love that word.
Mucilaginous. So I would not want to be eating what she's serving
And
up.
like gross nettles.
Nettles are delicious.
Yeah, but what did she say? Stewed?
Yeah, so
Ooh.
there's, nettle soup is
Okay.
awesome. And most of the recipes that I've gotten, like really, really old recipes, come from like England and Wales.
See, when I hear stewed nettles, I don't think of like soup. I think of like wet, soggy nettle. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm taking it into a soup. It sounds better.
Like a stew made of nettles.
Like stewed tomatoes.
Gotcha.
Stewed nettles. Yeah,
Okay.
I would probably put them in a broth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, nettle soup is popular over in those parts.
Gotcha.
Of course, rose hips. You can't eat a rose hip because it's got those
You
like
make,
tiny
jam.
You can make a rose hip jam. So hopefully she bakes bread because I hope she's not eating that by the spoonful.
What are you putting the jam on?
Yeah, because rose hips have those little tiny like hairs inside them that are almost like a fiberglass. So they will like, cut your throat.
Yeah, that sounds
If
fun.
you're trying to eat those whole and raw. That's why, again, tea or jam, like rosehip jam, but high in vitamin C, so great. But obviously she's out foraging. She's a gal, just like me. She's out there foraging the rose hips and the elm bark and the nettles.
Love it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But my favorite character in this whole movie is her black cat.
Oh.
And his name is Cosmic Creepers.
Oh my God! Please, we have
getting
to
a
get a
cat.
black cat and name it that.
Cosmic Creepers. Remember our cat
Love it.
Pie Wacket?
Yeah, I loved that cat.
Yeah.
Pyewacket.
So you know what I read?
What?
You know what one of my favorite movies is?
Well,
There's so many.
I was gonna say you got to give me some.
Bell, Book, and Candle.
Oh, right.
Right. And I wanted to do that almost first as an episode.
I know you did.
But it was released on Christmas Day, and so I'm saving that
You're saving it
for the holiday
Nice.
season. But I read today, and I know that you did because
Hillary
that
Burton.
Hillary
I
Burton
knew you were gonna say
wants
it.
to remake it with Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
I would probably cry of happiness if they did that.
Oh my gosh, I would be so excited.
Me too.
Yeah. And actually, the age difference between the two of them is not nearly what Kim Novak and Jimmy Stewart was in theirs, which was like 40 stinking years.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
So you have to go on and look up Cosmic Creepers.
Okay. Why?
Because he is the mangiest looking cat.
Oh, no.
And I thought, I wonder if that's a real cat because I don't think they had animatronics
Right.
or anything back then. And so I looked it up and it was a real cat.
Oh my God, was it okay?
It, when it went to hair and makeup in the morning, they made it look really mangy.
Why?
Because it was it had to fit the idea of a witch's cat,
Oh,
which is scraggly and mean.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, come on, Disney.
So this poor cat looked like 10 miles a bad
they,
road.
teased the crap out of this cat?
No, they put patches of fake hair in him, and he looked like a mangy beast.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
That's
Cosmic Creepers. I love the name, though.
That's not right.
I
That's
love
a cool name. Poor cat. God.
Hair, makeup. I need a little bit more tufts of hair in here. He doesn't look quite so scraggly and mean.
So they created this feminist icon, but they still managed to slip some
Give him
bullshit in there.
a mangy black cat.
Oh my God. Poor cat.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So what do you think about that?
I'm not going to lie. I don't remember any of that. So I
Really?
was fascinated over here because
Yeah.
I don't remember. So you just took me on a ride.
Did I?
Yeah.
Yeah. Back to your
Love
childhood.
It. I'm going to have to go watch it. I don't think Jake has ever seen it.
Ooh.
It definitely sounds like if I had a kid, I understand why you played
Yeah.
it for me.
Yeah.
I would definitely, that would be in the,
I love
I
that
have to
one.
find it on VHS.
Yeah, I'm sure you could.
I'm sure I could.
Yeah.
I don't have it though. I need to find it.
Jake's already over
I
there.
hear Jake's fingers tapping, trying to find it on. He's on it. He's on top of it. No, I love that.
Yeah.
Especially coming from Disney. It's cool to know that whether they intended it to be like they probably, if they would have known they were creating a feminist icon, they probably wouldn't have done it. But I'm glad that one slipped in there.
That's why it was shelved for 10
Right.
years.
Yeah. I'm glad that it slipped in there.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Love it.
I know. I enjoyed it. And again, it's like when you're a kid, you don't realize.
What you're drawn
Like
to.
I didn't realize when I went back and watched it. I was like, my gosh, it's like so in your face that she's a witch. And, like when they started making it in the 60s, how that would have even,
Well, just like I was just talking about too. So you said it was released in 71.
Yeah.
And I was just talking about how that was like kind of, you saw this rise of, so that is very cool.
Yeah, but also you said the other side of the fence,
Right.
And for Disney being so wholesome,
Ballsy.
yeah,
Ballsy.
right. And so I am going to do Mary Poppins because it's
Love that.
There's so many correlations, and we also know one of my all-time favorite movies is Saving Mr. Banks.
I know you love that
I
movie.
love it.
I fell asleep the first time I watched it. I guess I'm going to have to go back and give it another.
You keep
give it the old go.
You keep promising you're going to watch it with me, but
Look at her.
I mean, it's got talk about a stellar cast there: Paul Giamatti and.
I do believe
Tom
BJ
Hanks.
Novak is in it from The Office.
Yes,
so
he is.
you got me.
He's one of the Sherman brothers.
You got me. I'll watch it.
All right.
I'll watch it.
All right.
All right. So everyone, basically what you learned from this episode is that you need to go and play every rock and roll album backwards. And then you need to go and you need to take your cat and you need to put patches of mangy hair on it so that you can really be a witch.
Just a regular black cat won't do.
It has to be mangy.
Oh my gosh, that's so hilarious.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Fun.
right.
High five up top.
Yeah. Another episode in the books.
Another episode in the books. Yeah. I'm excited for mine next week, too.
Are you?
Yeah.
Do you know what you're talking about?
I do.
Do you?
Yeah.
You're like giggling.
Jake's telling me to keep my mouth zipped.
Keep it zipped.
Keep it
Throw
zipped.
away the key.
You guys have to wait to just secret.
Yeah. Me and Jake are good at keeping secrets.
I'm
you
not.
yourself are
Nope.
not. She's the one that's under there trying to jiggle the Christmas presents and yeah. You have to put something in a completely different zip code if you're trying to keep a secret from her because she's searching.
I am who I am.
Me, I like
And
to be,
I will leave you
I
with
like
that.
to be surprised.
I don't. I want to know now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh. Where's the magic in that, Leanne?
Magic is I have a present earlier than I would have if I didn't peek.
Oh my gosh. There you go.
Oh, all right, everyone. That is another episode of
That's
Uncle
a wrap.
Bob's. We will talk to you next week.
Yes. Can I say it?
You can say it.
TTFN.
Cut, print, check the gate. Moving on.